Survivor's ready. Go!
Travis spoken.
Boston Rob and Amber are gonna do it.
This is a business trip, as I like to say.
You, Brad Culpepper.
I'm tired of you and the fucking chicken.
You can call me the puppet master. They can be my little puppets.
It's not like you're making a deal with the devil here.
You get to milk your own milk, I guess.
Who the hell voted for me?
Chicken.
We got enough rocks here, too. We could build a pretty decent shelter just using rocks.
I'm supposed to talk Latin to you. You understand that better?
Direct from Hobart, it's time for the only Survivor podcast in Australia dedicated to Survivor, bringing you all the latest interviews, episodes, and opinions from the greatest reality show on the planet. It's Survivor Oz, and here's your host, Ben Waterworth.
Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to Survivor Oz, Australia's #1 TV and film podcast, as we come to you not only for a Survivor Worlds Apart recap episode. The 12th episode is done and dusted, but a bit of a special episode for you this week, because as it was announced after the episode this week, we are now in a process of voting for who is going to return for the next season of Survivor, season 31. It's a second chances season, something that people have been talking about for a very long time. And we, as fans, and you as the listeners, as Survivor fans, get a say in who's coming back on the show. And this week, what a perfect opportunity to get one of those people who might just be, in a couple of months, out there, somewhere in the world, filming for another chance to win $1 million. And that person, who is one of those lucky 32 from Survivor Africa, and hopefully soon Survivor Season 31, Teresa T-Bird Cooper. T-Bird, welcome back to Survivor Oz.
Welcome, Ben. Thank you. It's great to be here. I'm so excited. And who would have thought that we would have had the opportunity to have this conversation with me having the chance to go back. So I'm super excited.
It's just played out perfectly because, look, you know, we had you on, I think, a little over a year ago to talk about your time in Africa, and said during that interview, look, you know, of course, in the future, if you're welcome to come back on not only Survivor Oz, but of course, hopefully you get to go back on Survivor. And you are within a very good shot of more than 50% chance, I think, of making it on the next season by the looks of it. I mean, I have to start. How are you feeling right now, T-Bird? I mean, you look extremely giddy with excitement that you might be on Survivor again soon.
Ben, I've been wanting to play for the last 14 years, ever since I got voted off the first time. Immediately when I was voted off, I'm like, oh yeah, I got to go back. 14 years later, who would have thought that, what a difference a day makes. So I'm extremely excited. Of course, it's not enough just to be nominated. Of course, I want to be out there, and then it won't be enough just to be out there. I want to win.
Exactly.
So, it's part of the journey. I'm so excited to be in the running.
I have to start, this is sort of a special recap because we will talk about this episode and we will talk about the season, but of course we've got to talk about next season as well, so it's going to be covered all different bases. But I need to ask, you're the first one from the 32 that we've spoken to since it's been announced. How did this come about? How does the approach come? Does CBS just sort of randomly bring you out of the blue, hey T-Bird, look, we're thinking about doing this, would you be interested? And then do you just kind of follow the processes involved until they finally say you are going to be one of the 32 that will be voted for?
Yeah, I have campaigned, if you will, for the last 14 years to be back on. And I always thought I've got to stay somewhere in their sights so they will remember me. So I don't know as far as the other players how they've done, but I know, I've tried to stay in touch with Miss Spillman, who is genius, with just an email here and there occasionally, not wanting to bother, but always to let her know, hey, by the way, I'd love to go back and play. So just trying to stay out there. And then I don't know, again, I was hoping even last year when they did Blood versus Water, the first one with the returning players, I had talked with them about possibly going out there with my son or daughter or with my fiance because we had all shot videos. So, it happened last year where I was hoping there might be a chance, but, they decided to go with all new players. So, it's funny. I think depending on this list that I'm looking at now, I guess everybody they probably looked at for different reasons. But again, right now, looking at the old school players, if you will, the mature players. I guess I'm wondering how many of us actually kind of stayed in touch with casting to say, hey, if there's ever an opportunity, pick me. So I'm just happy to be in the list, to be on the list.
This is what I think is getting a lot of really diehard Survivor fans excited are the old school players. Not to take away from the newer school players, because obviously they're all special and great in their own right and deserve their spot. But people like myself watched it since day one. We've grown up with this show, well, literally, and we all remember you, and we remember the show back when it was as big as it was. But I mean, looking at kind of you guys from the first 10 seasons, I'm just going to separate it from that bit. So obviously yourself from season 3, we've got Kimmy from season 2, Kelly from season 1, and of course on the male side of things we've got Jeff from season 2 and Andrew Savage from season 7. I mean, this is just great that not only is there a couple of you, but there's a fair chunk of you there. I mean, nearly approaching the quarter mark of the top, first 10 to 15 seasons. So I mean, it's I suppose in a way it's great because you obviously were very close to those guys back when the show first started.
Right. And I would think too, so many people have said, how are you going to play this time compared to how you played in Africa? The game is so different now. It's so different now. And I would think too, like you said, there were so many fans that started out, with S1, S2, S3. So to go back and see how it all started with the players that started it out and see how it's evolved into the players that are playing now, it's genius. Even I'm excited to see how it plays out. Of course, I'm hoping I'm going to be out there playing it out. But yeah, I can see where our fans, from S1 all the way up to S31 now, once it airs, it's going to be tuned in. It's actually a brilliant move for CBS.
Well, in
bringing back young followers.
In terms of just sort of looking at the females, I mentioned, of course, Kelly and Kimmy. I mean, we look at those first 3 seasons. We'll include Jeff in that too, because, of course, you guys were in sort of that really golden period of Survivor when it was the #1 show in America and the world. I mean, when you were doing charity events and things like that sort of back in the day, I mean, did you associate much with people like Kelly and Kimmy and Jeff? I mean, you must have had a few, get-togethers with them, I suppose, over those years.
Do you know, I don't believe I have ever met Kelly, Kimmy, or Jeff.
Wow.
So I know Kelly, I don't remember seeing her at any function. Now, remember, it's been a few years back where there was a lot of us, but it seems like, I don't remember, Kimmy, let me think. I don't remember any thing that stands out that we were at any certain things. I mean, it was kind of a whirlwind too, because when we were there, of course, for the fans and for the charities that we were representing. But I know I never met Kelly. And Kimmy and Jeff, again, remember too, I was such a fan of the show that when I think of them, I think of them like fans think of people that you're watching. But I don't remember me actually meeting them.
It's interesting. It's interesting because it's funny you mentioned with Kelly, because we had her on, I want to say 2013, I think, and in her interview with us, she was saying that basically when she had finished season 1, did a few things, and then basically that was it. She hadn't watched it. I think she mentioned she didn't even watch her season. When we interviewed her, she was living on a remote beach in Mexico.
She's still playing Survivor. She's
exactly.
Survivor.
She's living that life. And she said on our interview at the time, she said that it had been a while and she'd kind of sort of recovered and sort of gotten over that, and that she was now willing to think about playing the game again. So obviously it's sort of come full circle since then. But someone like Jeff, who's remained in the media a little bit, and Kimmy, I mean, again, we're not here to talk about them, we're here to talk about you. But it's just, as a group of you guys from these seasons, we're so excited.
I'm hoping as old school, I'll be out there with them. Absolutely. We've got, you figure we've got a bond starting out. Of course, any kind of bonds you can have if you're out there with 19 other players, whether you're bonding because you're a mom and, Cass is a mom and Carolyn's a mom, or if you're bonding because you live in the same area, or if you're bonding for whatever. So, because the game has so many twists and turns, and you have to kind of, and your game has to change basically every day as the game changes. Any bonds that you can create with the other 19 people, whatever it is. So yeah, again, we're old school, so hopefully that's the bond we all have, and we'll be out there together.
Is there contact made between some of you guys who are on this list already? Like, have people approached you? Have you approached people saying, hey, look, if we're on this season together, let's maybe think about something?
Ben, that wouldn't be... We're not allowed to do that. You know that.
I know that, but I'm trying to get a scoop, T-Bird.
There are rules, Ben. You can't step over the line in Survivor. You got to play by the rules, right?
Well, you can send hidden messages in this podcast that perhaps we can then connect with other people we get on in the coming weeks. And hey, look,
Special messages. Okay, just listen for the special messages throughout the broadcast. I'm going to throw them out there.
Well, I'll ask you this question, and you don't have to name names because I don't want you started pissing people off already. But when you've looked at the list of who you're up against, are there people that you've seen gone, hey, I would play well with those people, or I don't want to be involved with them?
God, Ben. Actually, I've got the list right here in front of me, and no, I don't look at it like, not her, no, not him. I kind of look at it, I know this is going to sound kind of crazy, but everybody has something that you try to figure out, what is it that I have in common with him or her that will help us play well together. And even in Africa, the personalities are so diverse, which is what CBS wants. They want diverse characters with different personalities, so the fun in it as a player is you're not trying to hook up with somebody that's just like you. You're trying to, and so I see some of these players and I think, oh, she's going to be fun, and she's you can look at it like she's a troublemaker or she's this, that. I look at it like, oh yeah, she's sassy. I like her, and I like her energy, and I like her, how she stirs it up. So just really on how you look at it.
One thing that I think really benefits you, for people who perhaps are sort of on the fence and they're thinking about who they can vote for and all that sort of stuff, and perhaps if people haven't watched Africa in a long time, I think kind of your story, and I remember talking to you about this when we had you on for the interview. You obviously were the longest-standing original Samburu member, but you fought your way to that point, and you still kept trying to make things happen from a certain standpoint. It wasn't kind of just a case of, hey, let's just lay down and take this because I know I'm going to be taking out at some point. Do you feel kind of that's a big element of what you could bring to Season 31, is that you've almost got a lot of people underestimating your game from the first time you played, and that can help you a second time around?
Ben, I do think it'll help me, but I think every player, every one of these people on the list, they have to know with as many seasons as there has been that you always have to look at the next play, what you're going to do next, because there are so many twists and turns. So, I would say, yes, definitely my strong suit, but I have to say, I don't think that puts me a leg up on any of these other players, because I think that we all play like this, and we will all play like this now. You have to. What I was going to say, people will say, how are you going to play now because the game has changed so differently from Africa? And I'm like, what do you mean exactly? They say, oh, well, now there's this and that. And I think, yeah. So in my opinion, the game has gotten probably can be more in my favor and more in the old school, more for the old school players, because, we didn't have immunity idols back then, which gives you another shot. We didn't have, if there's a redemption island, we didn't have a chance to come back. Once the flame was out, bye, see ya. We didn't have Exile Island. People may say, ooh, who'd want to go to Exile Island? Yeah, I know who would want to go to Exile Island. Maybe T-Bird, to get away from this group for a night because there's craziness going on. Then you go and you've got a chance to what? Look for an idol without people following you around and looking for you. What are you doing? Africa, we were locked in a little small area. We had no beach, no water. We had to walk to get our water every day and carry it back on our backs. Ben, I tried to discuss strategy whenever I could. The thing was, we could never get away from each other. We were in that small little, confines. So to me, you've got an island. You can walk here or walk there or walk out in the water with somebody. Hey, you can talk strategy without people, trying to figure out what you're doing. So, see, for me, I think there are so many more options to help keep this game interesting and hopefully be in my favor than there ever was back in Africa. So, to me, I think it'll be a better game than it was then.
Can you look at, say, a Jervis or a Tina or a Mike Scoop and these players who played sort of in your period and have come back recently and all done very well? I mean, Tina finished 4th, Jervis was 3rd, and Scoop obviously was co-runner-up. I mean, can you look at, do you feel how they sort of adapted over the years, or do you kind of feel it's not a good idea to do that?
Well, you named those 3 players, and Ben, Tina, Jervis, and Scoop. Now, those 3 I do know. And what do they all 3 have in common? I mean, right off the bat, I can tell you, what are they all 3? They're likable. They're social people. They played a social game. They were smart. They were clever. But they were likable. So I think it's important to remember when you're stuck out somewhere on an island, if you will, with X amount of people, and you're just trying to get along and survive, emotions run high. So to me, it's the social game that'll carry you a long way if people just want to be around you. Mm-hmm. And I don't think with Jervis and Tina and Scoopin, they were, well, I know, Tina's athletic, Scoop has stayed, athletic, but as older players, it's been in their favor because maybe they were older, but their social game was so good.
Yeah.
So,
that's what I think is a real advantage for old school players, is because back when you guys played the game, I mean, strategy was a point. Obviously, it was developing. I mean, by season 3, it had developed a lot more than season 1, of course. But it was far more a social game back then. Not that it's not today, but there's so much more wheeling and dealing and strategies and idols and, it's go, 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 go. Whereas back then, you guys was just, more focused on kind of getting to know each other, not hurting feelings as much. They don't seem to be more that way today, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, you know what, Ben? Again, all the seasons up until, all of them were different. So, again, I can only speak about Africa. So, look what happened in Africa. The minute we were dropped off from the transport trucks, the game started, of course. Alliances were made immediately because people sized each other up. So, it's so funny that you say people socially were trying to get to know each other. Well, remember on my tribe, it was the older players. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Did I say older? I didn't mean to say that. I meant to say the more mature players. The more mature players against the younger players. So Brandon, Silas, Lindsay, and Little Kim immediately got together so quickly that within like 2 minutes of being off that transport truck, they had sized each other up. They had gone off and started walking together. I'm like, oh no, this is not good. So then my game was pretty much set. I couldn't get in. I tried to get in with them. I liked them. It's not that we didn't like each other, but they knew they were together, the 4 of them. So you guys work it out any way you want to, but you're not getting in with us. So see, even then, it wasn't like, let's get to know each other and let's see who wants to do what. It was automatic division the minute we touched down. So see, for me now, again, the way the game's played now, you can try to do that, but because there are so many twists daily on, okay, drop your buffs, now you're going here, oh, who's got an idol, oh, here, give the idol here, blah, blah, blah. We didn't have that. So again, I say, for me, I think the game will be easier now with all the different things that can be done than back in Africa.
It's an interesting point, actually. It's a good way of looking at it. And again, this is just so many elements. That's what making this exciting, T-Bird, is, this combination of old school, middle school, new school, and how this could all play out. And one thing that I love is the fact that we've had people on this show before who rumours pretty much were true that they were coming back, but they obviously couldn't talk about the fact that they were coming back. you guys can openly talk about the fact that you're very nearly on this season. So in a way, Tim, I can now basically say to you guys, and I'm going to try this, that if you get on the season, I can be selfish and say, hey, T-Bird, I'm a fan of yours. Please work with Kelly Wigglesworth and Kimmy Kappenberg because I love them both. And to see all three of you work together, you can call that the Survivor Oz Alliance.
Absolutely. And you know what, Ben? That, again, I've gotten different feedback from different people on this personality and that personality. And, in a perfect world, it would be great to say, okay, I'm looking at these lists of women. I'm looking at the list of men right now. Okay, I'm going to pick you, and you. But now who have they been talking to? Or who have they been, what's going to bond them? But again, I got to believe now that every player that's going to be out there for this S31, they're there to win. Being chosen is not going to be enough. They want, very A-type, hardcore. They want to, we all want to win again. So I think, that if you want to win, I don't know that you can be loyal to a person or two starting out and thinking it's going to end up that way at the end. I don't think you're allowing yourself to think about the big picture.
And I think that the one key thing that we've learnt from returning player seasons, and particularly where, obviously you said that the rules prevent you technically from making alliances pre-game, but it happens. And we've seen in many of these returning player seasons, Blood vs. Water, for example, very strong and almost confirmed rumours that like Aris was, making alliances pre-game, and then of course in All Stars, Lex and Boston Rob obviously had something that didn't quite play out well on the season. So generally, pre-season alliances usually cause a lot of drama because, again, as you said, once you're out there, you might say you want to work with these people, but within 3 minutes, hey, I hate Kelly Wigglesworth, she's a pain in the butt, I'm going to go work with Carolyn or something like that.
Well, if you want to isolate your game that way, and I say isolate your game by thinking that you control this game like that, go ahead. But I can tell you right now, Probst doesn't like anybody controlling his game but him, which I love that. So they're going to mix it up, and if you're not going with the game, again, it changes. It changes every minute. And again, people now are getting more and more creative. Shoot, look what Mike did. God, it was brilliant. Look what Mike did when he said, hey, I've got an idol here. You do this, because I'm going to give this to Sharon. And if you don't, we're going to vote you out, Tyler. I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. So you can sit there and you say, oh, no, I'm true to Tyler. I'm true to Tyler. Guess what? You're not going to, you can't play that way. You can't. So I love that when he did that. I applauded it. I love it when people, it's kind of fun to watch the underdog. Hey, maybe because I was the underdog in Africa. So to watch players that are pulling it out until the last second, doing everything they can do, I know the fans have got to love that. I love it. So, I applaud the way Mike has done everything he can do to make it happen for him. So, whether or not he makes it to the very end, or whether or not he makes it back on S31, because I feel like for sure he's either going to win the season or he will be out there with popular vote because he's a great player. He really is. So you kind of look at who he started with in the game, and they may have had an alliance because they all had they had their common bond. But see how it changes up and people change and start jumping around. So like I said, back to the pre-alliance, you can plan it and it looks good, might make you feel better, sleep at night. But once you get out there, you've got to be flexible, ready to change.
I guess the interesting thing then in terms of that, like talking about people like Mike and all the people from Worlds Apart who are on the list, is that you're watching this season still. Like you don't know how this season turns out. So I guess kind of it would be interesting, I guess, from your perspective, trying to internally analyse these people and how you feel they might play the game, because everybody else you've seen play this game, you know how they play it and how they got voted out. With Mike and Carolyn, the only two at the moment who are still in the game who are potentially on next season, you're still seeing this develop, aren't you?
Yeah, but guess what? They are too. Because they don't know. I mean, they know if they made it to the final, we don't know, final 2 or final 3. For some reason, I'm thinking maybe it'll be a final 3. I don't know why. Just kind of was. So I'm thinking again, Probst is throwing in the element of surprise even for them because they're letting them campaign. So making them think, okay, you get to go back because you didn't win, which, like I said, makes me think that one of them did win and that those two plus one other may be in the finals. So again, they don't even know either, But I think all the players, Mike, Carolyn, really strong players. So, they've done a great job. I love watching.
I think in terms, I should clarify, we had a few people commenting on our post yesterday saying that, CBS has spoiled it, basically saying that Carolyn and Mike aren't going to win. Jeff Probst did say that if Carolyn or Jeff win, then they're automatically ineligible. So just to clarify that, people who are thinking that CBS has spoiled the season, well, they haven't. But I definitely agree with you in what you said about Mike, and I think same with Carolyn, is that if they win, obviously they're not going to be on the season, but still, they're a millionaire, they've won Survivor, so it's great. But if they don't win, I've got a feeling that those two are going to be on next season no matter what.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think so too. But again, for some reason, it makes me think that one of them, just keeping it interesting, I'm not sure they're trying to throw the viewers off as much as they're trying to throw Carolyn and Mike off, just for the element of surprise that they may be in the running to win. So, that's, again, finale night's going to be exciting and for so many different reasons.
Now, I've heard that how they're doing it is that on the night, they will announce the cast on the night, and I've even heard that basically you will rock up on stage, hey, congratulations, T-Bird, you're going to play season 31, and then you leave that night, and then you're off to play. Is that how it works? Do you know if that's how it works?
I think now again they keep us in the dark too, so the element of surprise is for us as well. But we will all supposedly be in the audience on May 20th, and voting, by the way, will go through May 20th, and then they will announce who's going. Our bags are packed right there with us in the studio, and the 20 people that get to play again will march their little selves off and get on a plane and the game on. The other 10 will hop on a plane back to their hometown. Not so fun.
Tails between the legs.
So.
But that's not going to be you, T-Bird, of course. I mean, this time in 2 weeks, you're on a plane. And I want to say again, look, I don't know if you know where you're going, but the rumor is it's Cambodia. I don't know if you can confirm nor deny that, but you probably don't know.
I can confirm and deny that I have no idea because they've not told us any of that. So we're speculating too, which. See, to me, it makes sense that it would be Cambodia, which is really exciting because it's never been in Cambodia. New country, new beach, new scenery, new everything except for new players, which that makes it exciting too.
Very much so. I should ask, we will talk about this season, but this is great. We're here to campaign for your T-Bird. How have you found the reaction since the announcement, basically a couple of days? I mean, we've seen you very active out there on social media. You've got your great website up, which we will link on this website. There's, you've got a lot going on out there to campaign, but how have you found the fans' reaction so far to you being on this list of 32?
God, the fans have been great. Again, it's pulling out a lot of people that, started watching in the day. And I think it's, again, exciting to see the difference with the players that played so long ago when it was such a huge, huge hit. And, of course, it still is. But the fans have been great. And, to see people as they get older, a lot of the chatter's been, let's see what they can do now, 14 years later. But, once you have that A-type driven personality, it's hard to get that, to get that out. So the fans have been absolutely wonderful.
And what are some of the things that you're doing out there in order to campaign? Well, obviously, you're appearing on some podcasts. You're doing a lot out there on social media. Have you got any kind of publicity stunts planned out there, T-Bird? Like maybe some massive billboards around your town or something like that?
Well, fortunate for me, there's not a lot of players from the South here in the United States. So I'm hoping, I've got that going for me. And of course, I'm with Delta Airlines. Mm-hmm. Big company, and Delta has been extremely supportive, and Delta's worldwide. So of course, when I thought this might be a reality, I started with Delta. I'm in real estate in the area, in Georgia. Atlanta is a huge international city. So I'm just doing a lot here. I mean, social media, don't underestimate the power of social media. Social media is huge. And of course, I'm trying to work that as much as I can, just like the other 33 players are doing. But I'm also trying to work the area as far as the south side of the country, state of Georgia, everything I can with radio, television, different interviews. So everything I can do.
And how have, like, say, the local TV and radio been? Like, I mean, because obviously Survivor isn't as relevant in terms of being on mainstream radio and that as much as it used to be. But I'm guessing, sort of locally, I'm sure a lot of people are getting behind you.
Yeah, well, I actually worked for CBS in Atlanta after Africa aired, and I covered the Survivor series, for about few years. So, CBS is still trying to promote CBS shows. So for me, because CBS is such a huge network, I've got to doing interviews with CBS here in Atlanta. So yeah, they're trying again. This is local Georgia girl. Yeah. So they've been very, very supportive. And again, I know for me, I know it's going to help me, but I know for them, they want to pump the season as well and get as many ratings as they can. So, hope it's a win-win for both of us.
You should head along to an Atlanta Hawks playoffs game. I mean, they're doing quite all right at the moment, T-Bird. So, you can jump on the Hawks bandwagon. They can get you over the line, perhaps.
Shoot, yeah. And, to Atlanta Braves. I had my Braves cap, which, by the way, I did send out to Wardrobe. So, I am so hoping not only to be there, but have my Atlanta Braves hat on, which is, anything you can do that people will recognize you. Mm-hmm. That's what I had the whole time. So, the Atlanta Braves as well.
How many songs from Annie do you have ready to go in case you go back out there?
Oh, God, Ben, you know what I read this today? This is so funny. I read somewhere on social media that they said, T-Bird, you got to come up with some original songs because of, what do you say? It's trademarks or whatever?
Trademark rights, yeah.
Trademark rights, that you can't do any songs like that anymore. So somebody said I was going to have to write my own stuff or do some kind of folklore song. I can't even say, hey, Ben, I can't even say folklore. So, hey, come up. I need some ideas.
We'll come up with a song for you, the T-Bird song.
Okay. If anybody wants to go ahead and send that to me, I'll be glad to,
do it. Yep.
Make it like American Idol, make it my own, and I'll, maybe I can help somebody, be a writer.
There you go. Put it out there.
I'll be the performer, and I need a writer.
And there's an instant viewership of millions around America and around the world. We'll get to see your song because you'll be singing it out there in Cambodia or wherever you're filming.
That's right. So look, I'm open for suggestions.
Yes.
I'll do whatever it takes. Absolutely.
Tag your social media. We're gonna put it in our article with this. But right now, if people are listening to this on iTunes and haven't seen our article, where can people see you on social media and things like that to follow your progress here, T-Bird?
Oh, I've got a website, tbirdcooper.com. So hopefully you'll do the link. And if you go to tbirdcooper.com, also there's a link straight to the CBS website. Mm-hmm. That you can go to, so that'll be nice. And Ben, because it's been a year or two or three or four or 14 since I played, I actually shot a pretty, fun little audition tape that trying to get CBS to notice me, hey, pick me. So it's kind of will help some of the viewers that maybe didn't watch the earlier seasons or weren't born yet. I mean that in a good way. That they can maybe learn a bit about me. And it's actually, if you go to tbirdcooper.com, you'll see a link to an audition tape that I shot. So maybe that'll help people that are a little undecided if they want to see me again, learn a little bit about me.
We'll link it for people. If you're listening to this via iTunes or one of the other services and haven't gone to our website, if you go to survivoros.com, we'll link it up there. Go to the website and everything is there. I've seen the website. You've linked us on your website too. Thank you for that. But it's a great website. So check it out.
Thank you.
How have your fellow Africa castmates? Have you got some people sort of helping campaign out there? Is Lex, Big Tom, are they sort of helping you out?
Yes. Lady Di Remember Lady Di,
Yes.
Lady Diane?
Yes.
I just had a message from her this morning and talked to Lex when it actually was Wednesday night when it was announced. Because, Lex and I, because we have such a strong bond from Africa, because we had our little thing out there, if you will. But him and I, of all the players, it's funny, I'm closest with the last ones, that got me off, which was Lex, Big Tom, and Ethan, who I adore. So I figured they're three guys that you definitely want to have in your corner.
Yeah, the only returning players from Africa. So no females ever returned from Africa. So you'll be the first. I'm not saying if, I'm saying you will be.
Yes, thank you, Ben. I will be. But Ben, and you know what? I guess this is a good time to touch on this. I know that you will not be supporting me. I know that you will not be pulling for me because you made it clear when we did our interview a year and a half ago when I said, Ben, I plan on getting out there again and I hope you'll be pulling for me. I'll never forget what you said to me. You said, you do not want me pulling for you because everybody I pull for does not win.
True.
So, with that being said, Ben, I don't expect to have you pull for me.
I will not be supporting you at all if you get on the show. I'll be supporting for you to get on the show, but once you're out there, I'm going to be like, no, I don't like T-Bird. She annoys me. Oh, she's going to sing. Oh, her accent. Oh, my God, I hate her.
God, her voice. Okay, I got it. I appreciate that.
I'm glad you remembered that, actually, because it's still...
Oh, yeah, I remembered it.
Still stands true, and because I can tell you, I'm a bit of a Rodney fan on this season, and he's not going to win this season, so there's another jinx happening.
Yeah, well, and he's not going to be out on S31 either,
I know,
apparently.
I was so devastated not to see him on that list. Could you imagine playing with him?
God, you know what, Ben, it's really interesting. Even as not just a player, but a fan, but as a player, when I'm watching when the show started, I watched these personalities and I thought, he's not going to last long. She's not going to last long. Oh, that's not going to work. Look how long they've made it. It's again, casting did such a great job, but you can't tell. I mean, you would think Rodney would have gone very quickly.
Yep.
Very quickly.
Yep.
And there he is. There he is. He's still there. So, God, I love it. It's great.
We talked a lot about him in our pre-season episode, and I straight away said, look, I love this guy. This guy's amazing, but he's not going to last long. But, yeah, he's very bipolar, isn't he? Because, like, one week he surprises you by actually being quite clever and strategic, but then, say, you'll have this week where something doesn't go his way, and he gets a lot of blurry mouth swearing action going on.
Oh my gosh, it was great this week watching him because he was talking about, and it comes to mind, his birthday. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, number one, what men, especially men, make a big deal about, it's my birthday. I should be wearing the king's hat. It's my birthday. It's my birthday. And I thought, are you serious? Are you kidding me? Because it's your birthday? Everybody should. This is Survivor. So anyway, but again, in his behalf, your mental faculties pretty much go, when you've been out there 30 days, you're kind of having an out-of-body, out-of-mind experience that you watch later and you're like, oh, wow, okay, that's what happened. And it's kind of why you see the players, when we get letters from home, in Africa, we got letters from home. Well, you may expect the women to tear up because, getting letters from their children or their parents, but grown men, you don't expect to see that. But I'm telling you, mentally, you've been beaten down, that emotions just take over. So I'm going to say in Rodney's behalf that emotions took over on his birthday and he couldn't help himself.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say.
And I guess kind of it's getting to that point now of the season around about where you were voted out. I mean, you were voted out in day 36. I believe it's day 32. Tyler got voted out. So it's kind of getting to that period where you're obviously understanding quite where these people are up to in terms of mentally at that point and how you're coping in that part of the game.
Yeah, it's interesting because viewers at home watching it can't understand unless you've been isolated from everything and you have nothing and you're out there and the game is so mental. And even now, watching it, and even back in Africa, you got to remember what you're watching as viewers. You think you know how it plays out because you're watching the confessionals. As a player, you've got a plan, or you've got a plan with this person, that person, but you don't know what their plan really is. I mean, if you think for a minute you've got to trust that that's their plan, then again, you're not playing the game. So it's such a mental game that just beats you up and beats you down every day that, it really takes its toll on you, which is, again, what makes it so fun to watch.
Exactly. Completely agree. In terms of this season, have you enjoyed this season so far? I mean, do you like what everything's going on?
I've loved it because of like you love any season, it's because the characters are so good. The characters have kept it so interesting, and you think after 30 seasons, can they do anything else to change it up or to keep it interesting? And then even the players are doing things to keep it interesting. So, with just Mike, again, standing up at Tribal Council and you still see all that. So that's what keeps it fun. I was going to say another thing about Will. We didn't talk about Will yet.
We're not up to Will yet.
Talking about the mental breakdown. Now Will seemed to be, from the start, a kind of guy you'd want to be out there with, you want to hang out with, nice guy. Well, I'm trying my best to figure out why he did what he did to Sharon, and why. And again, you got to remember too, when Sharon was upset that nobody kind of came to her defense, which is totally understandable too. You got to think Will's lost it, because for him to turn and treat another person like that, which doesn't seem to be his character at all, he's been beaten down. And I feel sure when he was watching that and his family and friends were watching that, they were probably saying, wow, Will, you were gone on that one. So
it's I mean, this is the thing with that, and we've obviously talked about that since it's happened, but the thing that kind of, to me, that has been the bad thing to come out of all that, and again, I will reiterate, I agree, what Will said was, way over the line, but I think in terms of how social media reacted and how the fans have been abusing Will, it's overstepped the line, I feel, in that aspect of it, and that's where I guess Survivor cannot be fun when it comes to the online reaction from certain corners of the internet. So I guess that's one part of coming back on T-Bird that will be a little bit different to when you played, because back in Africa there was no Twitter and things like that, were there?
Yeah, Ben, that's so funny that you say that. So I've got to tell you this is so funny that you say that. So when I thought this might be a reality to happen again, I thought, okay, they pretty much made it clear that in order to get back on there, social media is going to be your friend. That's what you have to do. So I thought, okay, but when Africa aired, I remember the first day it started, I went on the social media, not like it is today, but still, pretty new and big. And I read a couple of the blogs, and I'm like, I don't think I'll read any more of that. So I stopped, because I thought, you start reading it and you take it personally, and you think, the people don't know you. But you got to remember, they don't know you. They're just reacting to a character. But you can't help but take it personally. So it's funny. So I stopped looking at any of that after the first day. I thought, that's not really good for my psyche. I'm going to turn that off. Well, now we're exposed and want to be exposed to get the vote, to be out there again. So, what I'll do now is I'll see things and I'm like, T-Bird, suck it up. Suck it up. You have to see it, and you have to, and not take it personally, because everybody's got an opinion, and, so that's what's making it really interesting now.
Yeah, and look, it's an interesting world. I mean, we get our fair share of colourful things said about us. I've had my fair share of colourful things said about me, and I'm not on a show watched by millions. I'm on a podcast listened to by 2 people every 3 months. But it's an interesting world, but at the end of the day, it's obviously a very valuable tool for a campaign like this, and it's very valid for you guys to use it. So yeah, if you can suck it up and just kind of move on from it, then hey, that's all that matters.
Well, and I'll tell you what, that's why CBS does such an extensive workup on us, and we did, again, all kind of psych test evaluations and all that. Even I did this again for this series. And I even asked we meet with psychologists and all kind of, hours of interviews and tests. And I asked, I'm like, how come y'all do this? And the psychologist told me, we do it to make sure, which is really, really neat that they want to protect us. We want to make sure that you can handle it emotionally and mentally, and there are no, as much as we can prevent any repercussions from you down the line, which is really, I think, pretty neat that they do that.
Yeah.
But what's funny? There are some people that I actually read something, and I have to mention this name because it's somebody I've become friends with from your beautiful country. And I didn't know it was the first actually finally said to her, "What's your name?" It's Lockie.
Right, Lockie. Okay.
Lockie. And she told me that it was a common name in Australia.
Yeah.
But I actually became friends with her because she had posted something early on, and I thought, that's an interesting post. And for some reason, it made me want to reach out to her and say, blah, blah. And since then, now we've become kind of social, friends. So it's kind of interesting how you can meet people because of this, like I've met you. But I can tell you, Ben, any of the players that are out there, look how, once the series is over, look how the bonding happens with, for example, all Africa players, all the worlds apart. You'll see them on all kind of social things, and no matter what happened on the show, look at the way Lex and I, look at the way we are, very good friends. There's a bond there, so you become very close and very good friends. So that kind of, I think, happens if any of the fans were to meet any of these players. I think they would really be fooled at how much they would like them.
Yeah, and it's a fantastic element of Survivor, which a lot of people, I think, take for granted, is that at the end of the day, you've all shared this amazing experience with each other. You have this bond, but also when it comes to social media and the fans, I mean, I've had the pleasure of interviewing, close to 300 of you guys over the course of doing this show, and it's, been a dream of mine because I love the show, but I could probably, 98.87% of you are just a pleasure to deal with, and you're just regular day-to-day people who I could meet up with tomorrow for a coffee or a beer and just have a great time with. And this is what I think is great about Survivor and the people who compete on the show and the fans.
You would, and again, when I see certain things that people are reading or tweeting or posting, I think, you don't really mean that, because if you knew me, you'd know we'd get along, just like you just said. So you got to take it like a fun thing and realize that everybody's kind of passionate for their players. But it makes it really fun. It makes it fun to see the fans get so involved, and that Probst is allowing the fans to be involved on who goes out there. It's got to be really exciting for the fans. And hey, as a player, we can vote too. Yeah. So it's really a neat, very cool twist. The only thing, Ben, is, before, if you get voted out while you're in the game playing, it's not so fun. But imagine if you're voted out by America. Now, that's got to do a little something to your ego.
I can imagine.
So I'm hoping to avoid that one.
Well, I'm also wondering that, say it's a season of 20, so there'll be 12 people that miss out. Will they show like a percentage of like, hey, this is what the 20 got on with, and this is, say, like, somebody who comes in at 21st, do they miss out by like 1%? Will they show that?
I don't know, because I've wondered that too. I wondered will CBS let America now vote on these 34 players 100% of the way, or will CBS say, y'all got 50% and, casting has 50%. So we don't know that. I don't guess America knows that either. So right now we've kind of got to go on it that it's, 100% America votes. But again, casting wants their diverse personality and ages, because, that's what makes it so much fun to watch. So it's going to be interesting to see. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out at the finale and how they introduce that.
And it's great with, you mentioned the ages, like the diversity of the ages. Youngest is 22, oldest 56. We won't mention who the oldest is.
56? Whoa, wait, hold on a minute. There's a 56-year-old out there?
I know.
That's insane.
I know, right? That person is obviously a shoo-in to get in, because clearly with age comes wisdom and maturity, and they're just the best people. So
God, that's so right. And too, I'm hoping, Ben, you say when you go to the fans, you want to be able to relate to the fans for different reasons. Again, old school player. I'm a mom. I'm with the airlines. A lot of airline people in the world. Demographics. I'm an older. I'm in my 50s. So I'm hoping all those things will make different groups of people from all ages say, "Yeah, we want T-Bird. Yeah, that's a good reason. Yeah, that's a good reason." So I'm hoping that'll actually help me, because I know that I've heard this through the years, Ben, that people get frustrated that they don't see. Older, excuse me, did I say that?
Mature.
More mature, I'm sorry, thank you, Ben. More mature players out there, so I'm hoping that that's going to work in my favor. And shoot, look at Terry Dietz.
Yeah.
Dietz, 55. He won all these immunity challenges at, 40, 45? He would have been, 45, 46?
45, 46, yeah, about 10 years ago, yeah.
At 45 or 46, he dominated. Mm-hmm. So who wouldn't be interested to see 10 years later, can he still dominate? Can these strong, physically, mental people still play the game they did? I think that would be a fascinating thing to want to see.
And so the connection you're talking about, the airlines, of course, Terry's a pilot. You work for an airline.
He's not with Delta Airlines, which is okay. But yes, he is a pilot with another airline. So again, you want to look at things that you have in common with people. And I think this whole group of people, there's something that we all have in common with each other that makes it kind of where you don't know where the game's going to go when you figure out what you've got in common with each other. That makes it interesting.
It's so amazing, actually, looking into at the ages, because, I agree with you 100% in terms of getting more mature people on the show. I'm one of those people that like to see sort of that demographic, because I'm a big fan of that type of player on Survivor. But, looking at the list here, so there are 6 people in their 50s on this list. To see Andrew Savage is 51, wow.
Look at it. Look at him. He doesn't look.
Troyzan's 53. Wow, jeez. But, yeah.
See, I didn't know Troyzan was in his 50s.
Yeah, he actually was on about 3 or 4 weeks ago to do a recap with us. So we like Troyzan. He's been on the show a lot. And then you got a bunch in the 40s. So there's 5 in their 40s. There's a heap in their 30s. So it's not like they've just filled this up with 20-year-olds. If you actually want to be technical, there are as many 20-year-olds to vote for as there are 50-year-olds. There's only 6 20-year-olds.
Right. So, it's, you got to look at the fan base, and then you say, okay, as far as the demographics, are the fan base, are they more geared toward the younger people, the older? Mature.
Mature.
I don't know why I keep using that 3-letter word. I got to cut that out. So it's going to be fun to see how the vote, how it splits with this. And I really think the fans now are so smart that they're not looking. I think they're looking at, we want a good series.
Yeah.
We want a good series. I don't have to have the most attractive female or the hottest man. I want color and flair and personality and strategy. And I think, like I said, the fans are smart. They want to see the mix-up of that. So I think it's going to be, hey, as badly as I want to make it out there, I want to also know that the fans thought, hey, T-Bird was good enough, strategic enough, and mixed it up enough that we want her. That would mean everything.
And, of course, this will be the 3rd full All-Star season. Not just returning player season. We've only had the 2 where every single person's a returning player. In my eyes, All-Stars to me is still my favourite season of all time. And Heroes vs. Villains, of course, is universally considered the greatest season of all time, generally. So we have, in terms of the 2 full All-Star seasons, a pretty good track record in what type of seasons they are. So if that trend continues, T-Bird, then we're going to have a very good season next season.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great season, and I think too. Even with the All-Star heroes versus villains, I think once the fans are going to have the whole summer to know exactly what 20 are going out there.
Yep.
How exciting is
never happened before.
Never had been. So there's going to be so much chatter over the next few months. But then you know what's going to happen? It's going to be split, I'm sure, right down the middle of, if you will, heroes versus villains, good versus bad, angels versus demons. I mean, it's already going to be divided before we even get back. Did you notice I said we even get back?
Yes.
It's already going to be divided on who thinks they align with who. So again, just the chatter is going to be so fun. And I've heard fans say that summer's kind of a bummer. If you're a real big Survivor fan, which people listening to this, are, they'll say, it's kind of such a bummer once the season ends because you got to go through the summer and then it's just kind of down until fall starts again. But the beauty of this is it's going to keep going. Once the finale airs on the 20th, the excitement and the hype is going to be going the next couple of months, and then September will be here. So it will really keep playing out with just, the fan base, what the fans are saying in the chatter. So that's going to be fun.
And it's such a, if you think about kind of what we will have in that gap, it's that we've never had a season before that we knew, and you knew as players. Notice how I said you, not if you're on that season. Going into it who you're playing against. We as viewers know who, and like we will know, hey, it's, right now they're filming day 31, you know what I mean? So we know. And of course, too, you got to look at it. You don't have to hide from your family or friends that you're out playing Survivor. You don't have to be like, oh, I'm taking a 6-week, annual leave with my fiance. You don't have to lie. Everyone knows where you are, T-Bird.
Well, and so you know what, been a blessing and a curse. I was just telling Glenn, my fiance, who has been wonderful. He is just so supportive, and you've got to have support from your family or it's not going to work. So he's been so supportive, but I said it's a blessing because I don't have to keep this secret from my best friends, everybody knows exactly what's going on. Blessing. It's a curse because instead of just trying to get your affairs in order to leave, I'm in real estate, I've got my children, and I've got not only just getting my affairs in order, I'm campaigning to go. So the time, this next week, a little over a week, is going to fly by because of just trying to do interviews and trying to get everything in order to go. So, it does throw a whole new wrench in things, but it's a good thing. It's good.
It's just going to be fascinating, and you talk about that period, the summer months, so it's winter for us, but that sort of when the season ends in May, the day the finale will end for Worlds Apart, which will be, of course, you'll be on a plane, T-Bird, to Cambodia. We start our annual Oscars, our annual awards that we have every year, and they run through to June. So that kind of passes a bit of time for us. But we're going to be probably, they're not going to be as people focusing on them as much this year because we're all going to be, thinking how you guys are doing out there.
Yeah, I would think for you, for all your listeners and all your fans, because you're quite a celebrity and personality yourself, this was great for you. I paid her to say that. I paid you to say that. That's right. Mm-hmm.
I'll send you a check tomorrow.
This is great for you, Ben, because again, you've got your annual Oscars, but then you've got all this also to help the show, keep the show going and keep your sponsorships and everything. So again, I must say it's a win-win.
Well, it is, and bless you for thinking we have sponsorships, but yeah, we don't. Delta, if they're interested in giving us money, T-Bird, hook us up. We'll take some Delta money.
You should have a sponsor. You don't have sponsors to keep
no.
Show us. Okay, we'll have to talk about this from a marketing standpoint.
T-Bird, when you win season 31, right, you'll get a bit of money. So feel free to kind of fly out and visit us, and with Delta, of course, and we can do sort of a presentation thing, and you can hook us up, perhaps. How does that sound?
It only seems fair since you're helping me campaign that I give back. Yeah. And I was in Australia. Glenn and I came to Australia a couple of years ago. We went to the Queensland. We went zip lining in the rainforest. We went hiking in the Blue Mountains. We went to the Great Barrier Reef. We dove the Great Barrier Reef.
Yes.
Your country is amazing. So, yes, I can't think of a better reason to come back and get your sponsorship started up. I think it's about time.
Look at this. This is how perfect this is. The fact that we're going to openly talk about this. That I can start asking each, and I'll be fair, T, but I'll have to ask all the remaining 31 people too, because I need to be, completely fair. But you were the first that we asked, because you're the winner. You're the winner.
Yeah, and that's right. And even though you don't like that I'm a winner,
no, I hate the fact
you're
that
not supporting me.
No,
with the winner comes great responsibility, and if I have to, come over there and help sponsor my band, that's what I will do. Absolutely.
Hey, there you go, folks. Right there. That's why you vote for T-Bird, okay? But, yeah, straight there. How many times have you voted so far? I think you can vote once a day, but have you found other ways to vote a couple extra times?
No, Ben, I need some help with this. I need some help from you and the viewers that want to see me back out there. Again, this game started for me once I was voted out. The strategy never leaves. It's the strategy on how to keep, probes. How do I keep them remembering me so I can get back on? What do I need to do? So it's all strategy. What interviews do I need to be doing? So with that being said, even for us voting, my family and friends, people say, T-Bird, how do we vote? What's going to help you the most? Ben, that's a great question. Do they stay away from this age group? Do they say, just say the women right now? Let's just say the women. Do we focus on this age group? Do we focus on old school? Do we focus on brunettes and blondes? Do we focus on, what do we focus on that's going to help you the most? Guess what? Good question. It's a strategy, but I don't know. That's a good question. So give me your opinion on that, Ben. Let's just help the viewers right now with that.
Well, I've seen a few people kind of sharing there. It's great, actually. A lot of the friends, the people I'm friends with on Facebook and I've seen on social media, they're sharing their votes. And people are thinking differently. I know from a personal standpoint, I'm focusing a lot on the old schools. I'm always voting for you. I'm always voting for Kimmy, for Kelly, for PG. I'm going for that kind of angle. And then sort of once I get those sort of people out of the way, I'm looking at, from my perspective, great players mixed with personalities.
Right.
And, someone like Cass is always going to get my vote because, whether she's a good player or not, she's brilliant TV. And, I'm a big One World fan, so, I'm going to love Sabrina to return. I love Natalie. Redemption Island was a shit season, but, I sort of had a bit of a crush on Natalie. So, I want to see Natalie play again. But everybody has different ways of looking at it, I guess. And I know some people are going, oh, why is that person on there? Why is that person on there? At the end of the day, some people can come back on their second time, be a completely different player, and then you go, wow, how did we never think to bring them back again because they've turned out to be brilliant? Yep.
I'll tell you what's a good thing to do. I don't know if you've done this. I think you kind of get, you go on to vote because you can vote every day, but the videos kind of, for a lot of people, are kind of an afterthought. I was talking to my mom, and mom's like, T-Bird, my mom calls me T-Bird, right? My mom calls me T-Bird.
Good.
I'm not sure if that's good or bad, Ben. It's a little bit of concern, but right now I'm not going to worry about it. So I'm like, Mom, have you looked at the videos? My mom is a huge Survivor fan. She would not miss any of this. She is like on cloud nine. I'm like, Mom, have you watched the individual videos? Because that will help you to remember the players. So I encourage the fans to look at that too, because it's kind of easy to, you go on and you see the pictures, like, start voting, but the clips are only like less than a minute, so it's kind of fun. Now let me just tell you this though, it's funny because I watched all the videos. I watched the men's videos, and you know what, Ben? It's funny because to watch the men's videos, they're all cleaned up because we shot these in LA last month, so of course we're all cleaned up. The men look kind of strange to me because they're not all bearded, and they don't look, woolly bear or anything. They just look cleaned up. So it's kind of fun to look at the men, especially because they're so different in their videos than they do when they're out there playing.
Yeah,
it's kind of fun.
The thing that's funny, and looking at the photos too, because some of these people we haven't seen in a very long time. The difference in what they look like, you look at someone like Jeff Varner, who we all remember from the Australian Outback, just to kind of, I'm aware of what Jeff looks like because I've sort of followed what he's been doing over the years. But if somebody hasn't seen Jeff Varner since the Australian Outback, you might look at his photo and go, really, who? As soon as you watch his video, you were like, Jeff Varner from the Australian Outback.
Peanut butter Jeff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he does a llama impersonation, for God's sake. He brings up Tony the llama, and then he goes, oh, is that llama woman going to be playing again? And Cass is on the list.
Yeah, so I don't underestimate taking the time to look at these videos because they've done a great job. CBS has done a great job by pulling something here for each person that you'll be like, oh yeah, I remember them, or oh yeah, I don't care about seeing that again. So it's really a useful tool. So I might have to go back today and look at them again.
I will be on. I mean, at the time of recording this, I sort of it's been a whirlwind sort of last couple of days for me, so I haven't had a chance to watch all of them yet. I will be doing that on the weekend. But the ones I watched, yours is one of the ones I've watched. But the few that I have watched, they've all been very.
You watch the people that you don't like, that you're not pulling.
The people that, if get on, I hope are voted out first.
Okay, good, perfect. I like it. I like to hear it.
I want you when you're on the season, and of course the season's airing. I want you to tune in each week to our episodes and our recaps and see how much I'll bag the crap out of you just to make sure you don't win.
Yeah, I will too. Absolutely.
Oh, that T-Bird. Oh, God, I hate her so much. Why is she winning individual immunities every single week? Oh, she's breaking all these records. Oh, she's so liked. I hate it.
Hey, Ben, you talk about winning immunity. You know, it's funny. I think back, another difference between, back in Africa, because the game was so new, if you will, you wanted to win. And it's important to win, but sometimes you might not want to win because you don't want people to see how hard you're playing or how badly you want it or how strong you are. So again, you got to think about all these things now. There's so many things going through your mind, and what's going to be helpful, or what's, well, I've got this idol. Do I share it? Do I tell anybody? See, again, because we didn't have that to think about then. Do you want people to know you have it? Do you not want them to know you have it? Do you want to give it to somebody? Do you want to go off on a reward knowing they're going to be talking about you? Do you want to give it to somebody else? So now, again, there's so many more options and things to think about that will affect your end game that, again, back in Africa weren't really considerations. Nobody thought about giving up their, going off to have a hamburger with somebody. It was just whoever wanted.
Yeah.
Now you gotta think, okay, it's Rodney's birthday. Do I want him to go on a sailboat and have a hamburger? Yeah, no, I don't. I'll give him a birthday hamburger after the game's over. So, that's what's kind of fun, that you've got so many things to think about every minute.
And this is what I'm going to look forward to, and I love it when we get people like yourself on when you come back from your win, which of course I would not have been rooting for. That we can get you on after the season and sort of have the chat where we say like, okay, how's it changed? How did you find it? Because I know when we've had Tina back on and Jervis on and Scoopin back on and talked about sort of the development of it, it's just fascinating because of everything from game to even just little things like production wise. Because even that side of thing changes a lot, in the amount of time between playing the game.
Yeah, I have heard a few things that production do differently. That again, things that didn't happen back in Africa. That it's going to be interesting to see. And God, Ben, for me, just imagine, when we were in Africa, we weren't around water. I think every season but Africa played on a beach where you were right there, by the water. So again, for me, it's going to be a completely different game. But again, everything that I've looked at that I can think of, it's good stuff. It's things that I think will help my game instead of hurt it. So now if I could just get the strategy down on how to vote for these players that are going out there.
Well, look, you could be playing out there, of course, with, again, we've said Mike, Carolyn out there, and of course the other ones, we've got Shireen, Joe, and Max out there. Have you had dealings with Max before? Because I know Max is, very relevant in the community. He does lectures, and he knows a bunch of people out there. Have you ever spoken to Max before?
I have never talked to Max before.
Oh, okay.
He's fascinating. That's another thing, Ben, you just brought up. Do you know what is really cool? It is so cool because back in Africa, you didn't have these die-hard fans like you do now. So these die-hard fans, Max, Sharin, that are now the postal worker guy. How can I forget his name?
Dan,
thank you. Die-hard fans that are actually playing. How fun to play with people that were first and foremost fans of the show for years, or people that are so knowledgeable of the game and of the players. So, for example, is this going to be in my favor or not in my favor for somebody if I'm playing with Max and Sharin, who know my game? They know me as a player, but I don't know anything as far, they've got all the numbers and the stats and everything to figure out this and that. Is that helpful to them? Or is it so much information it's going to mess up their game? That's going to be an interesting thing to watch play out, too, that we, again, didn't have huge fans that were players back in the day.
And it's the thing, too, some of the other ones that are on the list, I mean, Spencer, huge fan. The one that I think is interesting, Stephen Fishback, of course, he does some podcasting work with Rob, and Rob has a podcast. So he's obviously got that element where he analyses the show a little bit more in depth than some people would, too. So how does that work for or against him in a game like this where he knows pretty much everything about all of you out there?
Well, he's a brilliant guy. I mean, and I really feel sure he'll have the fan base vote to get there. But you're right. Well, can you have too much knowledge and too much information? And again, I guess I've kind of always used for so many things in my life, ignorance is bliss, because I think you can psych yourself out in whatever you're doing, whether it's going through natural childbirth, running a marathon, anything you do. Even playing the game of Survivor, if you don't take it every minute at a time, if you look ahead too much, if you try to know too much, I think mentally it can break you down. So it'll be interesting to watch the Max, Stephen, Spencer, who also a big fan and very knowledgeable of the game and of the people. Will that help or hurt? I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know. What do you think?
Look, it's a difficult one because you would probably argue more so hurt if you're as open about it as, say, a Max and Sharin were, because I think I think more so on a season like this where it's all new players, because if you mix up your new players with, say, people who maybe have been recruited or don't really watch the show, that can throw them off a little bit, and they can be like, well, hey, they're dangerous because they know so much about this game, so that's going to affect me because I know hardly anything about it. Might be different this time around, though, because you've all played before, you sort of all have dealt with super fans and all that sort of stuff now, so you probably deep down maybe know that they're not too bad, but I don't know. I guess it all comes down to how you play it and your personality mixed in with that, really. So, yeah.
Yeah, and again, I guess you cannot underestimate, not just your physical strength, but your knowledge of the stats and everything.
Yeah.
Again, it is a social game, so it seems like some of the people that have played well, but maybe didn't get as far or finish the game, their social game may have been lacking. So you really have to have a little bit of all that.
There's only really been, I think Todd, when he won, was obviously sort of billed as a super fan who won the show. There have been super fans. Kim was a huge fan. Tony, I believe, was a big fan of Survivor. There have been Cochran, of course.
I was just look at Cochran.
Yeah, there are heaps of players who have won who are fans of the show, but in terms of like super fans, it's your Todd, it's your Cochran, your Kim, your Tony. They're kind of maybe the only select few that were students of the game, to use that term, I guess.
Well, yeah, but, Max, again...
He's a student and a teacher of the game.
I know. So, I think he'll be an interesting player to watch because he knows the game so well, and to have gone out there and played the game the way he played the first time, you got to think, what's he going to do to mix it up the second time? Because he's got to figure, hey, I got to mix it up. got to mix it up. So it'll be fun to see what he decides he's got to do. But don't forget, you can have all these plans in your head about how I'm going to do this, how I'm going to do that, but the game plays around you and you got to go with it.
Yep.
But you still fall back on the way you are, the way your personality is. So you can't, like me, I would love to go out there and be a villain. I'm going to go be a villain this time.
Oh, please do, T-Bird. Please do.
Be a villain. So I was talking to somebody, and they said, you need to go out there and you need to be the mom that just turns, poison the children. And, and I thought, yeah, that's what I need to do. I'm going to poison the children. And I think, wow, can I do that? Do you think I can do that? Well, I don't know. So, again, yeah, we all have plans on how we play again differently that might help us, but you still fall back on who you are. And even though, so I'm talking to myself about this every day. What am I going to do differently? And so that's going to be fun to figure out what we all do differently that we think will help us get to the end game.
I'd watch T-Bird the villain. That would be fun to watch. I want you burning socks and tipping out their water on day one.
Yeah, the children won't get fed because I poisoned their food with,
If I can control the way they feel, I can control the way they think.
That's right. And I know that scorpions will make you very, very sick. So I'm going to cut up the scorpions and put it in the rice.
Hey, Mike, I've got a scorpion for you. Remember how much they tasted good?
Hey, no, I can't tell them what I'm doing. I'm poisoning the children. So I'll cut it up and I'll put it up there. Hey, you're giving me some great ideas.
If you come out of the next season as like the villainess of season 31, we're taking full credit for that. You do realise that?
Oh, absolutely. And we will definitely use that as a ploy when we start getting the sponsorships that we need.
Yes.
So we're going to use everything we can. Definitely.
But not that I'll be rooting for you, of course. I will be
rooting
against you.
What you do as long as they remember you, right?
Yeah, well, exactly. That's what Dan said. They're going to remember me at the end of this game. And, well, he's not winning, so let's be honest.
Yeah, you know what? I don't ever want to say somebody's not going to win. If Dan were to win, like right now it's fun to watch because like people that aren't real huge, that are just kind of watching it because they're with me and they feel like they need to, they'll say, why are they still there? Why are they still? I'm like, because they want to be sitting there with Will and Dan and Rodney when it's time to vote. Do you know who Sierra's played a great game. You notice you don't hear much from her, which makes me think she does really well because she's not in anybody's face that we're seeing. And she seems like she's, been kind of quiet. So I'm thinking she might surprise us too.
She's an interesting one. And I mean, it was only a couple of weeks ago somebody would bring up Sierra and we'd be like, who? What? Who? Oh, right, Sierra. She's on this season. But I don't know. It's hard to get a read on her because she's there and she's somebody who... I mean, if she got to the end against Dan and Will, I mean, surely she would win that vote, you would think, wouldn't you?
Dan and Will, yes. Because just the last show, she said, we've got to get so-and-so out of here. He's going to win. I think it was Tyler. Did she say Tyler?
Yeah, she was talking about Tyler.
She's playing the game, and again, I kind of watch from the beginning the players that you don't see much of because they're not right out there trying to get the play time, if you will. They're not trying, they're just laying low, watching what happens. So again, with the season that's happening that I'm going to be on, season 31, right?
It's going to win, TV.
It's going to be fun to see how many characters are out there because I think watching some of these players play again, like the All-Stars and the Heroes versus Villains, it seems like some of the players have agendas that they're looking at to go past the game. I want to be able to market this past the game. So what do I need to do? See, that was never my strategy the first time around, and it's not my strategy this time around. To me, going out there and winning, it's what I want to do. How I get there, I just have to figure that out. But I think there will be, and I'm hoping there will be some colorful players that are out there for an agenda that may be, well, hey, I may not win, but as long as they remember me and I can go do this and that. So I think when you've got return players, you see that. You see people that are playing, maybe, I don't want to say not to win, because I think going out there, you're thinking, I want to win this. But what can I do to be memorable, maybe so I can get back out here again?
Yeah.
If they're, so I'm hoping that's the case. And I can tell you, when I'm voting also, I look at characters that maybe, I like the characters that blow up and get kind of crazy acting. Or I think, oh yeah, I want you out there, because you're going to distract, from, and make people notice you. And that's kind of what you want too. You want to be able to sit back and have some people that are so out there that maybe they don't notice you're out there.
And at the end of the day, too, with full returning player seasons, I mean, look, we had Amber win All-Stars and Sandra win Heroes vs. Villains. And for the most part, I guess, players who, particularly in returning player seasons, that can sneak under the radar, say like a Sierra has, and make it to the end, they're always in with a good shot of winning, because you do see a lot of sometimes big characters or people with these reputations targeted early, because of course sometimes in those early part of the game it just comes down to, hey, as long as you don't vote for me, if that person did that stupid thing in their previous season, I'm happy for you to vote for them. I don't give a crap because it's not me, so let's vote out Troy Zan because he said it was his island.
Yeah, but Ben, you know what too? Again, I know you've been at a meeting, or you've been at, okay, let's just think about it this way. You've been at a meeting where it's about, time for lunch, or it's about time for the day to be over, and then you've got that one person on the front row that has one more question, or one more, oh, well, let me just, asking stuff that's like, what? Are you serious? That's just like, what? And you're thinking, if that person wasn't here, this day would have gone a lot faster. So you always, but in Survivor, that's what you're hoping for. Mm-hmm. You're hoping for that one person one more time just to do something that everybody else is like, oh no, I can't. Even though I know this person's a bigger threat, is going to win the next challenge, I can't deal with this anymore. And it's funny too, because even on the series of some now, there's been so many characters that have been, oh, we got to get them out. That I think it's kind of, they've shielded one another, because there's been so many players that have been in your face and maybe a little obnoxious to live with, that nobody's really gotten them off, which has been really surprising. And I know editing, again, can help us form our opinions, but it just seems like some of those characters' personalities have just been over the top, where, hey, I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm sleepy, I'm on the ground, I get da-da-da-da. Whew, that person's driving me crazy.
The editing this season has been very interesting, because, I think we've talked about it a lot. The editing in the last couple of seasons has been good, because if you look at Cagayan with Tony, on paper, I think he ended with 89 confessionals, so that's a fairly decent winner's edit. But, of course, at that point of Survivor, a very over-the-top character like Tony had never won before, so you assumed he was going to, do a rustle and get close but not win, but of course he won. Right. Then last season we kind of had this Josh-Jeremy situation where they were getting very strong edits, but then they were both taken out in the middle of the game, and it threw us all for a loop, like, what the hell? So then you were wondering who's going to win. This season it's kind of like, look, Mike's getting a very strong edit. You would assume Mike's getting a winner's edit. Rodney's getting a strong edit, but is he getting a winner's edit? Like, you're reading into it. So I feel this season, the way it's been edited, is still open, because Mike's getting a strong edit, but Mike's been on the back foot now for nearly a month. So can he keep chipping away, or is it going to be like an Aussie in South Pacific where he's always the underdog, but he's going to fall just like that little bit short?
Yeah. It's funny, even the way the editing and the producers pull us along as viewers, as fans, they do the same thing to us out there, in the game. And I remember they were doing stuff with us even in Africa. It was really, because they want you to think one way. And so it's such a mind game. Shoot, even the fans, they're playing with us as fans too. We can't, you can't win. But, don't we love it?
Yeah.
Don't we love to be pulled along, and, even though we might complain about it, we still love it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's true, and watching it a first time is always the funnest time, because you don't know what's happening. But Survivor is a show that warrants rewatching seasons, because there's always that pleasure the first time, not knowing and enjoying it, and falling in love and hating people and doing all this sort of stuff as it's airing. But then when you go back and rewatch it, you're like, hey, well, T-Bird wins season 31, hated her guts during it when it was airing, so I'm so pissed off. But now that I've gone back and rewatched it, she is the greatest winner of all time, because, she did this to Troy's and she did this to Kelly, and this is how she won the game.
Yeah. So, I usually don't go back and watch it a second time, so I love to hear the fans that are the diehards that watch it and that remind me of this and that, because when I'm even watching it the first time, Ben, there's distractions, there's different things, and you can have no other distractions, and you have to have the TV turned up because there's whispering and there's this and that, and there's so much going on that it's easy to miss stuff. And now, what we did not have back in the Dark Ages, the Stone Ages, excuse me, I didn't mean that. I meant back when the mature players were playing, you'd have the Twitter. So you're sitting there and you want to, it's like, hey, I want to tweet. I want to tweet Twitter. So you're sitting there and you're watching it and you're like, oh, that's a good opportunity. Now just do it up. And, I'm pecking, right? I'm pecking here on my little iPad trying to get my little Twitter twat thing put out there, right? All of a sudden I look up and about a minute or two's gone by. Well, I've missed something.
Yeah.
But I've missed the whispering and the whatever. So, you really have to watch it more than once or stay totally focused on it, or you're going to miss something.
How many times have you watched Africa? Have you only ever watched Africa the once, or have you would have watched that multiple times?
I have only watched it once as it was airing.
Wow. Which
means, because I was watching it down at my mom's house, we had big survivor parties every Thursday night, because back in the mature players' day, it was on Thursday night. So you can imagine how much I would miss of the actual show, because it was a house full of people. But you know what? I tried one time, Ben, to go back and watch it, and CBS gave us all of our tapes and videos, because back then in the dark ages, when
the mature ages, yes,
there were no DVDs. There were no VCRs. I think there was like VHSs. Oh my gosh, seriously. They sent me a whole case of VHSs. That's how long it's been, right? So I put one in a few years later, and the music started, being this is the honest goodness truth, that cool music, African music started, and tears came to my eyes. I pushed it out and I thought, I can't watch it. Wow. It evokes so many emotions in so many ways. Good, bad, life-changing. It's bittersweet that I've never gone back and watched any of it or anything like that, which is kind of strange, because I think there are players that, maybe have a shrine to themselves in their homes and they've got it playing, they've got their posters everywhere and all that. and I don't know if maybe I'm just a big baby, maybe I'm just a sore loser, and because I didn't win, I'm like, too bad, I'm not looking at that. But I don't really think so. I think it's just because I've got good memories in my head. So to put it back in and try to dissect it now, I just haven't.
A lot of people say that they can't watch it. I know, for example, John Carroll from Marquesas, we're very good friends with him, and he actually, we've been doing commentaries where we will sit over and watch the episode with people and commentate over the top of it. We have no lives, T-Bird. That's what we do in our spare time. But we got John Carroll was very gracious with his time, and he sat through all of Marquesas with us and commentated with us to give us in depth of what's happening. And we got up to his boot episode, and he said he was feeling very strange watching it, because it was the first time he'd watched it since it aired, and then every episode after that he said he had not watched it since. He's he couldn't stomach watching it after he got voted out. So watching that with him was an interesting experience, because we were getting his reactions, because he hadn't seen it in a decade. So yeah.
Right. Now, I know John. I like him a lot. He is a great guy. Great, colorful personality too.
We love John. John's fantastic.
But have you talked to a lot of people that have actually gone and or maybe they don't want to admit it, that they watched their show a bunch of times? That'd be strange.
To be honest, I mean, not that they've really admitted. I think for the most part, it all comes down to a certain amount of time will pass, and then say they've had kids, and the kids get to a certain age, and hey, mum, can I watch you on Survivor, or dad, or they'll show it to like their new, fiance or new partner, that, hey, I was on Survivor 10 years ago. Do you want to see me? Like it'll be things like that.
Okay, so Ben, that is so funny you say that, because Glenn, my fiance, was never a big Survivor fan. Well, now he's like been plummeted in all this now that he's wonderful, helping me with everything. But he had never seen it. Well, when I first met him, I never told him about Survivor, because why would I? That would be like weird. So I never said anything. I just didn't. Well, finally, after we had gone out for a month or so, he said, "Do you want to tell me anything about blah, blah?" And then he finally said, I'm like, yeah, I just didn't mention it because, I just didn't mention it. Anyway, long story getting longer. He finally, last year, ordered the Africa DVD. DVD, not VHS. DVD. And do you know what? It's in his room, and I found it. The dog has chewed up the whole case and everything. So he didn't even get through it, which is crazy. So I looked at him like, hey, baby, what happened to this? He goes, the dog chewed it up. The whole thing is torn up. So apparently he's not interested in me for my Survivor Africa because of, what happened 15 years back during the Mature Players Day.
Wow, it's fascinating because I find that interesting when you talk to survivors and say you've been in a relationship a long time after you've been on the show, because if this is my type of personality though, like if I was on a TV show and then say 5 years down the track I got into a relationship, it's something that I feel would come up. Hey, tell me something interesting about yourself. Oh, I was on this show. But I guess it all comes down to the different type of people, really, if you want to, disclose that, I guess.
Well, I talked to a girl yesterday that I've known for not a close friend, but a friend up in Atlanta. Because now, guess what? Now I'm telling the world. I want everybody to know. But anyway, so I called her and we were talking, and I told her about things. She said, I didn't know you were ever on Survivor. How come you didn't tell me that? And I thought, well, you meet people and you don't just say, hey, I was on Survivor Africa, because that would be weird. Who does that? It's kind of like self-promotion that
I could probably tell you a couple of survivors who would do that, T-Bird, but I won't name names.
But don't name names, but since we're like partners now in marketing and getting your sponsorships, you can tell me any people on this list that I'm looking at right here. You can see all my people. Are there any of those people? Because those are the people I want to be out there with, because I feel sure they're the ones that people are going to be like, yeah.
Let's just say I would say there might be one or two that might open with, hi, I'm this person and I was on Survivor.
Male or female? Male or female? Go with female. Female. There's not any.
I'd say male.
Okay. I feel sure there's a couple of males. Yes. But I'm not sure that one. Do you think that one will make the vote a 10? I don't know.
Yeah, look, I think probably if the person I'm thinking of would.
I'm hoping he will, because I've been voting for him because he's a time bomb. I'm thinking, oh yeah, I want you, because somebody's going to say something to you like, not quite in the shape you were a few years back, are you, buddy? Bam! Explosion. Right?
I feel like when I get more people, I feel like we need to do a segment on this show in terms of helping spruik out, where I get you to all trash talk the other contestants. But then I don't want you getting into trouble with the other ones when you get out there. I heard what you said at Survivor Oz. I'm not being in an alliance with you.
Okay, so Ben, you asked me if there was anything that CBS said we could not do for our campaigning. So funny, I just remembered this. The only thing we cannot do are trash the other contestants.
Oh, CBS.
So Ben, really, which basically I had to realign. I had to come up with a whole different voting strategy since I couldn't talk about anybody. I don't know.
So basically, CBS is adopting the Survivor Oz strategy where you suck up and be nice to everybody.
That's right. Exactly.
There you go.
What us to do right there.
Well, we love everybody on this cast. We think everybody will be sunshine and rainbows.
Sunshine lollipops.
Yes.
So, all right. So anyway, you gave me, so all the women, I don't know. This is going to be fun. This is going to be, I'm looking at them right now. Now you got my curiosity up on the mail. I'm wondering if you're thinking the same person. There's a feeling deep inside me that thinks we probably are.
Probably. Now we have a couple of listener questions. Obviously, I think we should. We've spent the most part talking about next season, which is great. We've talked about Worlds Apart though, so we're getting into those closing stages now. We've talked about Dan, we've talked about Mike, Rodney, we've talked about Carolyn, we've talked about them all anyway. So we've covered the remaining 6. I should ask quickly though. Tyler got voted out. I mean, were you a Tyler fan? Were you sad to see him go?
I was a Tyler fan because Tyler, to me, reminded me of the way I played. He never seemed to be up in anybody's face. He seemed to always be in the minority, but he kept kind of pulling it out. So I guess he stayed back behind in the background as long as he could until they realized, hey, Tyler's going to win this whole thing. So that's the kind of, I guess, where you got to realize how you got to get so far under the radar, but then at some point, you got to have to do something because people are going to realize that, which that's what Tyler did. But yeah, I liked Tyler a lot, actually.
I like Tyler. I was a bit of a Tyler fan. Like, I remember pre-game, we kind of just sort of wrote him off as somebody who wouldn't be that spectacular. But no, I grew to really like Tyler this season, so I was disappointed. I guess the question I should ask you, do you feel, in terms of voting Tyler off over Dan, should they have voted Dan off because of his advantage? Was that a mistake maybe to keep him around?
To keep Tyler around instead of Dan?
So should they maybe have voted Dan out?
Yeah, no way. Okay, if I'm in an alliance with Tyler, that's one thing. But Dan, you definitely want to be sitting with Dan. I mean, well, not only that, before you can get to that point, you got to feel like Dan's probably not going to win immunity.
But with his advantage, do you think his advantage makes him a bit dangerous?
Tyler. Or you mean Dan?
Dan, with his 2 vote advantage that he's got.
I don't know if he's going to figure out if he's going to use it or not. At what point, let me ask you this, because this maybe, because I only watched it one time and I may have been twitting, and I missed something. Dan can use that up to win. I'm
guessing it's final 5. Generally, with anything like that, it's up to final 5 you can use it. So I'm assuming, just like a Hidden Idol, final 5 is the last time you can use it.
Okay, so right now, what do we have left?
We've got 6 left, so I think he's got 2 more votes to use it, yeah.
I hope he remembers he's got them. Right? Would that be a shame? I don't know. That's somebody, maybe. I think Dan was a good one to keep for a lot of reasons. Number one, you can keep it because he thinks you're being loyal to him. That's what you want to think first. But then secondly, you're keeping it because you know he's got 2 votes. And then you're keeping him because you know he's going to stay and you want to be sitting with him. So he only made sense to keep for a lot of reasons.
Question for you, and I'll get to these listener questions. If it's a final 3 of Rodney, Will, and Dan, who wins?
Rodney, Will. Not Will. Rodney, Will. Well, you know what Rodney's case, he's going to plead his case, and his case is going to be, it's my birthday, and I should win $1 million because I had my birthday out here, and I didn't get my cake and ice cream. So I don't know how the jury's going to feel about that pleading for that. Dan, let me think. I don't think Will can win it. Number one, everybody, the way he did with Sharon, most of the players that are going to be voting, I don't think would vote for Will. Plus, he's not been as strong. It hasn't showed that he's a strong player as far as leading the group. He's just kind of been there. And again, I know editing can change all that around, but so I'm going to say definitely not Will. All right, now Dan and Rodney. You know, I don't think I'm going to go with Rodney because it looks like Dan really abused Sharon too, by the way. Let's don't forget that.
Yeah.
I think Sharon's, she's over there with her buddies, and I know the jury's sequestered. They really can't talk to each other. So I'm going to say Rodney. Hands down if it's 3-0.
I would say that too. Because I think the thing with Rodney is that he's a bit abrasive, he's got a bit of a temper, he loses a little bit, but I think for the most part, if you kind of see how they interact with each other, I think people seem to like Rodney a lot of the time, though. Like Dan really annoys the crap out of people, it seems. Will, yes, and I think he's sort of gone off, people. But, I mean, despite Rodney's kind of negatives, I still think a lot of people seem to like him out there.
Yeah, and remember what they've shown little bits and pieces of? Remember Jen, when Rodney had them all in stitches, which, by the way, when he was imitating
Best
Mike,
impersonations ever.
God, that was great. Well, remember what Jen said, and this sticks out in my mind. She said, wow, she said, he's funny. I never noticed that he's a funny, likable guy. That sticks out in my mind for him. So they're showing all these crazy, birthday moments. But I think deep down, the players like him and that he's entertaining them in a good way, where I don't think Dan's doing any entertaining or will. So definitely I think Rodney would win it by a majority of votes. Landslide.
That would be a very interesting final three.
Now, if it was Carolyn, Mike, give me another one. Will.
Sierra. Will. Go Will. Yeah.
Oh, wait. No. Let's do Sierra, Carolyn, and Mike. Ooh, now you got a tough one there. That's tough.
I would say Mike. I would say Mike would win that.
I think the votes would be split a little bit. It wouldn't be like a landslide for Rodney on the other three, but then Mike wins. So
I think the standout fact for that was a couple of weeks back when I think it was Shireen, wasn't it, was saying like to everybody, Mike, I'm going to be voting for you if I make the jury, or they aired that. And we saw that a couple of seasons ago when Tyson won, that we kept seeing, hey, Tyson's going to win, we'll vote for Tyson if he gets to the end. It was kind of hinting. And a lot of the time they air things like that as kind of like, hey, keep an eye on what we just aired because that's going to be saying something.
Even with Mike, aren't the people that are over there more Mike fans than, Now, if you throw Sierra in the bunch, there's all kind of combinations we could do. Yeah. I don't think she's ruffled any feathers, but, I know a lot of times the juries don't like to see people that have ridden in on coattails.
That's it. So, and her edit's very hard to read because, again, editing is, you can't always read into the edit. But I think in terms of, the quote, winner's edit, does Sierra have enough to really sell her as a winner? Because, again, I'm not disrespecting someone like Natalie or Sophie when they won their seasons, because obviously they were on seasons with very big characters which took a lot of airtime. But, I guess you could argue then this season we've got that. Does a Mike and a Rodney and a Dan, who are very, out there characters, does the fact that they're the way they are take away from Sierra if she wins the game? So that's why they've edited her in that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but, it's... it's going to be fun to watch because I think it could be any combination.
And you'll be in the audience watching it live.
That's right. Hopefully I can be able to focus since I'm getting ready to leave to go out of the country.
Of course, right? You're thinking about what seat you're getting on the plane, what you're going to eat on the way over to Cambodia.
That's right. All the big questions that
will
have to
you be
answered.
Buying Delta? So will you get an upgrade to first class?
That's what you want to do. You want to get on the flight to Cambodia with 19 other players that are, anxious, and you want your airline to move you up to first class and leave the other 19 in the back. Good strategy, Ben.
Yeah, that's not going to make you stand out at all and make them dislike you at all, is it?
That's right. That's what you want to do.
I tell you, I know how it's going to play out. Jeff's going to come to you all in the audience at one point on finale night. He's going to come up to you and be like, these are the people you're voting for. Here's T-Bird from Africa. How are you feeling, T-Bird? And you're going to be like, aisle seat, and I'll have the chicken. Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm looking forward to Vote for Me America.
Hey, Ben, you know what? When you just said that, it made me think how Probst might do it. He might, during the whole show, this makes sense that he would plug it like this. During the whole finale, the whole 2-hour show, he'll every 10 or 15 minutes he'll go back in the audience and he'll do the tap on the shoulder, like, T-Bird, get on up, get your bag.
Can you say no to him? Can you just be like, piss off, Jeff? You don't know how that would help you, Chad. Actually, it might help your voting chances. All the people who don't like Jeff Probst, like, hey, she stood up, and Jeff Probst might be like, get her off my show.
Get her out. Get her out. You know what? I kind of bet they do it that way. I bet you they'll come back, and they'll do that little, just to keep it interesting instead of waiting to the last. I don't know. Who knows?
As long as last season they wasted a bunch of the finale on showing little girls eating bowls of rice. So can we not have Jeff? If you, I know you don't listen to our show, but I don't care. I'm going to say it anyway. Jeff, if you're listening, please don't waste airtime on showing like girls eating rice. I'm sure that girl was a very nice little girl. Don't get me wrong, but I don't give a shit if she's eating a bowl of rice. I want to see Survivor and more stuff like that. All right. Thank you.
Little girls eating a bowl of rice.
We don't care about that. We want to talk to you guys. That was just ridiculous.
Well, guess what? Since I'm thinking ahead of the game and I'm thinking about Ben and what I'm going to do with the $1 million and the sponsorship,
yes,
I think we've just lost the sponsorship for rice.
Yeah, I think rice companies are not going to be sponsoring Survivor Oz.
Or little girls with the rice have to steer away from the sponsorship on that. Way to go, Ben.
Yeah, sorry, little girls and rice companies.
Ice eating little girls.
Yes, because I knew there was a bunch of little girls lining up to sponsor us, T-Bird. So like Daddy's a Millionaire or something. Daddy, can we sponsor a podcast that no one listens to? Okay.
Because you know how much I like rice, Daddy.
Hey, we have a very famous swimmer in this country called Stephanie Rice. So maybe there's like the Rice family out there.
There you go.
She won a reality show. She won Celebrity Apprentice in Australia. So
Stephanie Rice is who we're contacting first.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes. Look, let's just say, T-Bird, I wouldn't complain if she sponsored our show. She's a very attractive woman.
See how all this has come full circle from Rice to Stephanie Rice?
Yep. There you go. Exactly.
How old is Stephanie Rice?
I think she's my age, so she'd be 28. So
is she committed?
Look, I don't know. I sort of am, but we can change that.
Oh.
Did I admit that on air? Louise doesn't listen to this show. That's all right.
Louise, okay. Louise is a wonderful woman.
She is. She's magnificent. Absolutely.
You married then?
Engaged.
You have a fiancé.
I do indeed.
I have a fiancé too.
Well done. I proposed in your wonderful country too. So, I proposed on top of the Empire State Building in New York.
That's so romantic.
I went a bit cliche.
That's so Sleepless in Seattle.
I know, right? I've never seen that movie, but I've heard that happen.
I love it. Hey, you'll love it. Sleepless in Seattle, you'll love it.
All right.
Hey, listen, this is so funny. I got to ask you this. Have you seen Bridesmaids with Kirsten Wiig?
Yes, I have. Yes.
I love her. She's like unbelievably cool. So it reminds me of Bridesmaids, the airplane scene. Yes. So when you were telling me about sitting up in first class, all I could think about was the airplane scene where Kirsten Wiig keeps coming and opening the curtains to come up there to her friend. And all I could think of were the other players getting just looped in the back, coming through the curtains. So
who's is it Melissa McCarthy? Who's the one who's sitting next to the guy going, I know you're a marshal. I know you're a U.S. Marshal.
Yeah, she is hilarious. That scene, that whole airplane scene, and I guess because I work on the airplane every week, that whole airplane scene was priceless.
And that's very true what happens on airlines, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that happens just like that. It happens just like that. God, that was funny.
Wow. We're nearly 2 hours into this chat, and I think we've talked about this season for about 5 minutes, and the rest we've talked about Bridesmaids, Rice, and getting you on Survivor. So we're doing well.
I think it's the 2 hours that has been well marketed because we got Stephanie Rice is going to sponsor the show. Now, we're not going to do a hookup because of Louise, but other than that, we've got it covered.
3-time Olympic gold medalist sponsoring this show. I'll take it.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, I do have some list of questions. These are sort of related to this season, really. Thanks to the people who sent these in. Now, Cable Brandon, he's one of our Ozzles. He works for us here on Survivor Oz. He, first of all, says, Happy birthday to my favourite Survivor Africa outcast. Love your nickname, one of the best in Survivor. It was your birthday this week, I do believe, so happy birthday, T-Bird. Turned 21, I believe, yes?
Huh. Yes, I did. And guess what I did on my birthday? I had to wash dishes. Rodney, I washed dishes on my birthday.
Really?
Hard to believe.
Why? Why?
Well, good point. I'm not sure.
You're not touching that one.
I was listening to Rodney talking about washing dishes on his birthday. I'm like, hell, I just washed dishes on my birthday. I need to talk to somebody. This is terrible.
That's funny. Kate, the question Kate asked is you did pretty much answer this throughout this, but I'll bring it up because it's got a little bit of a different ending to it. He says the game has changed so much since season 3. Will that affect the way you approach playing the game in season 31, or will you stay true to the way you played 27 seasons ago?
Oh God. Well, when you stay true to how you played, the game kind of dictates how you play. And again, for me, all the different variables now that are in the game that we didn't have back in the day, the idols, the Redemption Island, possibly Exile Island, giving your idols away, pretending you have an idol, making an idol. Way to go, Joe. That was brilliant. I don't think you can play the same, but I think it's opened it up that it's going to be more helpful. Especially, I'll tell you what's going to help me more than anything, is being able to get away however you get away if you're going to get wood or going out into the water, where we could not do that in Africa. So there was opportunities I wanted to take to talk to people, but I couldn't because I was being watched by each other every minute. So that's going to be a plus.
Well, it's sort of on a similar note here. RB, I'm just going to call him RB. He sends in a question every week, and I cannot for the life of me pronounce his last name. RB, next time you send in a question, spell out how I pronounce your name, because I'm guessing it's I want to say Dutch or Swedish or sort of somewhere around that region. Again, sorry if I'm completely wrong, but I'm terrible at pronunciations, as people have learnt listening to the show. But RB, on a similar note, says, first off, very impressive resume. That's what he starts off with. Then he says, on your season, whose brilliant idea was it to throw the challenge to get rid of your nemesis?
Well, Ben, that was my idea because I'm the one that knew what was going on with Silas and Lindsay and Brandon a little bit. So I thought my few days over there with them was terrible. It was bad. They were really real verbal, and not all of them, but kind of in your face. So I thought if they end up coming back over here with Silas, then it's going to be, they're going to turn everybody against Frank and me immediately. So, it was a good thing for me to say, he's so strong. Not only is he so strong, and we're getting ready to go into the individual immunity. So that was a plus. But not only that, guys, he's so bonded with those 3 over there, they're going to get together and they're going to wreak havoc on the game. So, you don't know how it would have played out if he had stayed, but I thought at the time, and I still believe it was good to get him out, even though, I wrestle with the idea of throwing challenges because I know but I think there are times when it could be a good move.
Well, there's a follow-up question to that, but I will say that occasion where that happened to throw the challenge to get Silas out is one of, if not the only one. I know people will correct me because I'm pretty sure there have been a couple of other times where the winner of that season has been on the tribe that threw the challenge, if that makes sense. Because generally, if a tribe throws a challenge, it generally screws them over and they don't have a winner from that challenge. It's very rare that throwing a challenge is successful in terms of the winner will come from that, if that makes sense.
It does. But let me mention this. Even Silas, when the 3 of us, and even when the 3 of us were transferred over to the other side, you would think at that time Silas would have come to me or Frank, and he wouldn't have come to Frank because, bless Frank's heart, who I love dearly, Frank's kind of got this vision. He's kind of got straight ahead vision. So Silas would have come to me and said, hey, T-Bird, okay, I know what happened over there. Now we're here. Let's again, you got to play the game every minute as it's changing. Silas didn't do that. He never came to me and said, all right, T-Bird, what are we going to do? He never, ever did that. So I thought, I know what he's doing. He's waiting for the merge so he can do just what he did before. So it only made sense. If he had come to me and said, okay, let's rethink this. Let's do something differently. Because I know even if it's just temporary, he never did that.
I can correct myself. I just thought of another tribe, Salman del Sur, last season when Drew threw the challenge, which ultimately got himself voted out anyway. Natalie obviously was on that tribe and she won the season. Now the follow-up question RB has, which you kind of answered anyway. He says, how do you feel about throwing challenges to keep yourself ahead in the game in numbers? So I mean, you just answered that question essentially anyway, so unless you have anything else to add on that.
Avi, it's a good question, and again, I don't think you can answer that before the game starts. It's something you watch and you react to as the game is playing around you on what might be best and what might work out. You're always kind of second guessing everything. Was this the best move? Was that the best move? So, it's easy to Monday morning quarterback once it's over. You just got to react at the time with what's going on. So,
I love that saying. I love that Monday morning quarter. I mean, I heard it first in doing this show. It gets brought up a lot, and it's something that I actually use now, the Monday morning quarterback line. So I'm glad that people continue to raise that, T-Bird. It's a good saying.
I like it. It's like your pizza saying.
Yeah, well, we don't bring that up because I get told off every time I bring that up.
So. I know you do. I guess that's why I brought it up, because I'm thinking pizza could be a huge sponsorship for the show.
Hey, thank you. Pizza Hut, you could fly over in Delta with Pizza Hut brought out by Stephanie Rice.
Oh, wow. We're onto something here. Things are happening right now.
I know you're going to be doing Rob Has a Podcast, I don't know, today or in a couple of days. I dare you to bring up to him at some point the fact that he brought that quote up on this show. I've brought it up with him when he's been on the show since that interview. But, I mean, I get so much shit for bringing that comment up. Oh, Ben, stop saying the damn pizza quote. It wasn't me who said it. It was Rob who said it. Go off it, Rob.
Rob's the one that said the pizza thing?
Rob was the one who said it to me when he was on the show. He said Survivor is like pizza. Even when it's bad, it's good.
Okay, so listen to this. This is so cool. So Rob is the coolest player, right? He was the coolest player. Love his wicked sense of humor. He's got a phenomenal sense of humor. Well, I interviewed him. I worked with CBS in Atlanta when his season aired, and I interviewed every player as they came off. I interviewed it for the station. Mm-hmm. I loved him. I loved his play, but I love his sense of humor. So actually, I'm going to be doing his podcast in about 5 or 10 minutes.
So I'm keeping you from Rob. Oh.
Yes. So listen to this, Ben. When he got voted off, I just liked him so much. Do you know what he sent me? Let me ask you this trivia, and I bet you know it because you're good. What was Rob Sesternino's luxury item when he played?
That would have been the Magic 8 Ball that he had.
You are so smart. Look what I have here.
Oh, you've got it there. Oh, and yours isn't burnt by a fire, though.
Do you know that Rob sent me this?
And you still got it. Fantastic.
Rob sent me this 13 years ago, and autographed it.
Hold it up to the camera. I'm going to take a screenshot so people can see this on our website. Hang on a sec. Hold it up. We'll take a screenshot. Ready? All right. There we go. Beautiful. See if that works. This is great live podcasting. There we go. Lovely screenshot of you with that 8 ball. There you go. People listening to this, it's on our website. Watch it.
Hey, when you post it, I'm going to post it on my website. I'm going to move it to my website. So listen to this. I've got this, and I'm a little nervous to ask it a question like, not will T-Bird be on the season, S31, but will T-Bird win the season?
I want you to, because I've got a feeling you're going to do this on Rob, but do it on our show first.
No, I'm afraid to do it.
Can I ask if I ask the question, does that count then, and you haven't asked it?
It does count. It does count, because listen to this, Ben. Remember, ignorance is bliss. Anything that will mentally psych you out of the game, you don't want any part of. Even if it's an 8 ball, Ben. If this little 8 ball tells me that I'm not going to win, then it could change just the whole... everything, the whole tone will change.
Can I ask it one question and it will have nothing to do with you going back on the next season?
We could ask it a question about Stephanie Rice being a sponsor with you and Pizza Hut.
We'll ask it that too, but I want to ask the question, T-Bird. Will you have... is this interview in the end going to be more fun than the one you are about to do on Rob Has a Podcast?
Okay, hold it. I can ask it that. Okay, 8 Ball. Is my interview with Ben, Survivor Oz, going to be, is it more exciting than the interview I'm getting ready to do with Rob when Rob Has a Podcast? Here we go.
Uh-oh.
You may rely on it.
Oh, yes!
Score!
Rob beaten with his own device. We love you, Rob. We're only kidding. But no, I had to do that. Okay, well, I'll ask it. Let me ask it one more question. Actually, no, I'm a Rodney fan, so I've got to do this from the Rodney perspective.
Okay,
Will Rodney win Survivor Worlds Apart?
All right, 8 Ball. Will Rodney win Survivor Worlds Apart?
Oh, she's really giving a good shake.
Oh, this is great. Honest to goodness. Better not tell you now.
Oh.
In this interview.
Wow.
Love it. You gotta love the 8 Ball.
I do. It's the be all knowledge of everything. It's you go to it. That's what Rob said, wasn't it? Basically, like that's
every decision made in my life. Children, work related, marriage, the 8 Ball.
There you go. Will we have another child? No.
Will Ben get with Stephanie Rice and Louise be happy about it? Do you want me to answer or ask?
Please do.
Here we go. 8 Ball. Answer is true. Uh-oh. Very doubtful.
Oh, I take that as the very doubtful for Louise being happy about it, but not necessarily the getting with Stephanie Rice bit.
See, you know what's funny? You can make anything the way you want it to be, which is just the way Survivor does. Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
I feel like I need to ask you our final set of questions then. We don't want to keep Mr. Sestanino waiting. I mean, he's an award-winning podcast host. Well,
yes.
Although I did win an award, T-Bird. We were voted the best website from the Slovak and Czech Reality Awards, so we've got one award. He's got like 50, but whatever. Now, these are related to this season. So we do these in terms of predictions. And you're in a very good area of this season because there's only 2 episodes to go. So you've got a little less to work with than if you're doing this on episode 1.
Exactly.
So, Teresa, T-Bird Cooper, Survivor Africa contestant and Survivor Second Chances winner. Who is your tip to win Survivor Worlds Apart?
Gosh, I think I'm going to go with Carolyn.
I would like to see that. Can I just point that out? And if she doesn't win and she's playing with you, I would like to see you in an alliance with her. So,
okay.
But I wouldn't be rooting for you. I would be very anti that alliance. Who is your dark horse to win this season?
Will.
Wow, that is a very big dark horse.
Will, definitely.
Who's voted out next?
Okay, let's see. I'm thinking it might... Well, Mike's got an idol, right?
Oh, he played his idol.
No, just used it. Mike.
Yeah, if he doesn't win immunity, you would say he's gone, but it looks strange. To happen.
But he's so strong. He's so strong in immunity challenges.
Of course, this season started off with white collar, no collar, blue collar. If you were on this season, T-Bird, would you be white collar, blue collar, or no collar?
I guess I'd be white collar. I guess I'd be white collar because I'm a flight attendant. I'm in real estate. I guess I'd be white collar, but I live down in the country, which kind of makes me, real country, which kind of makes me blue collar, which kind of makes me no collar. I'd be a whole nother division. You
would be like the 4th dimension of collar.
That's right. That's exactly what I think.
Is that even a correct way of saying it? Final question for you now. It doesn't have to be with the people who are on the left. It can be anybody from this season in general. Out of all the players from this season, which player do you feel you are most similar to?
Oh, God.
I'd love for you to say Vince, but I don't think you will.
You'd love for me to say who?
Vince? Do you remember Vince?
Oh, yeah. Gosh. I'm going to say Tyler.
Okay, yep.
Because I think he's been quiet behind the scenes, not ruffle feathers. I'm going to go with Tyler.
Done. That's simple. And
Plus, my son's name's Tyler, too.
Wow.
To him in that way as well.
That works.
I think Tyler, as far as played the game, like Tyler.
Beautiful. Done. T-Bird, that's the last question I have for you. We've got to close this out now. I don't want to, but we have to.
Ben, I have enjoyed this. Thoroughly enjoyed this.
We're just on the we've just gone past the 2 hour mark. So I will say congratulations, you've officially broken the record for longest ever recap episode. So round of applause. So that straight away is enough to vote for you. But in terms of our interview, I think you're a little bit off our total interview length. But I think our longest interview was Cass, and that went for 2 hours and 27 minutes. So we need to be on here for another half an hour. If we didn't have Mr. Sestanino waiting, we might. And he has sponsors, T-Bird, so he's got to pay the
bills. Does he have Stephanie Rice?
No, he doesn't. He might have Michael Phelps.
Well, I don't know. So you could trump him with Stephanie Rice. That's our goal.
Stephanie Rice is hotter and she doesn't smoke marijuana, so...
So we're going for Stephanie Rice then.
Done. T-Bird, I have to say, it has been a pleasure, but best of luck for this campaign. Obviously, we've got a couple of weeks for this to happen. You're our first one we've spoken to from the list, so we sincerely do wish that you get on this season. We know you're going to be on this season, so hopefully the next time we speak to you will not only be in a couple of months when you're a contestant from Season 31, but as I said, the winner of Season 31.
Thank you, Ben. Thanks for everything. I have enjoyed, if nothing else comes of it, just that we developed this friendship. It's very cool.
And there you go. Teresa T-Bird Cooper, Survivor Africa contestant and hopefully Survivor Season 31 contestant. A lot of fun. Realised we didn't exactly talk too much about Season 30 in this week's episode, but I think at the end of the day we sort of knew it was going to go in that direction, and fair enough, because it's obviously a very interesting time in Survivor to be able to talk about this, because never have we been able to so openly talk about future season that is about to happen with returning players. So makes it interesting as a podcast host, being able to bring this to you and be able to openly talk about it as much as we can. So thank you to T-Bird. It was a lot of fun, and as you heard me say, officially now a record for the longest ever recap episode, even though, again, technically not the most recappy episode. It was talked about, folks. You heard us talking about Season 30 in there. Now, obviously, we'll have to touch on a few housekeeping matters now that this Second Chances season has been announced and we can get these people on the show. We are reaching out to each individual that is on the list. We have already gotten a few lined up for you, which will be recorded in the coming days, and we still hope to get the others, well, at least a large proportion of these players on the show. For the most part, we have interviewed, I do believe, the majority of people. There are a few that have never appeared on our show in any capacity before. So we will be looking at killing two birds with one stone, getting an interview with them about their past season as well as looking ahead to their future season. But of course, we will be still reaching out. But look, it's sort of not the be-all and end-all goal to chat to them all. Obviously, that would be fantastic if it happens, but we're sort of not expecting everybody to come on. But we'll try our darndest to make it happen. So get out there, get involved. In terms of what we're doing in sort of pushing a campaign out there, sort of getting behind the people, as you obviously heard me talk a little bit about in that chat with T-Bird. Personally, from a personal standpoint, I'm all for the old school players. Not, again, to take away from any of the new school players, because there are new school players that I do want to see return as well as the old school players. But look, my personal main focus is to get T-Bird on, to get Kelly on, to get Kimmy, to get Jeff, to get Andrew Savage. You know, these old school players from those first 10 seasons, and sort of even stretching that a little bit further. You know, I'd love to see Terra return, Shane, of course, PG, you know, I mean, there's just these people that are there that seeing them return would just be fantastic. And again, not taking away from the others, but that's just from my personal standpoint. And yeah, we will be putting out random hashtags and everything out there to get behind certain people in the coming days. But again, it all falls down to you folks. You are the fans of Survivor. You get to vote. CBS is where you go to it. Now, a few people have been commenting and mentioning that if you listen outside of America, you can't vote. I know that I have been able to vote, and obviously I live in Australia. I know Noah has been able to vote. I know other people who work on the show have been able to vote, and it says they're counted. So perhaps the terms and conditions saying it's only open to US and Canada residents isn't quite true. But I'm telling you now, as an Australian resident, I have been able to vote. It hasn't given me any rejection messages or anything along those lines. Outside of course, season 31, in terms of what we have coming up, our Oztopsy is there for you to listen to. I wasn't on it. I can tell you right now, I haven't even listened to this week's Oztopsy, but I do say thank you to Noah and Colin for helping out there and doing that Oztopsy. Download that. And, of course, The Amazing Race Oz will be coming out too, hosted by Noah Groves. If you're a fan of the Eurovision Song Contest, Euro Ozvision, our latest spin-off, that is under a completely different section, though. It is not on Survivor Oz's website. You'll have to find that on iTunes, or, of course, go to eurozvision.wordpress.com for that. And also the Oscars, we've put them all up, the details of what's happening with that. The poll, the voting commences on the day of the Worlds Apart finale. We will open that up shortly after the winner has been announced, and after the voting, no doubt, is closed for season 31, but you still get to vote. 10 days, the first round of Oscar voting goes for. Then we will announce the 5 finalists in each category. Voting will then run for a further 6 days, and we will have a live episode to officially announce the winners of the Oscars for 2015. Always one of our biggest events of the year. Get excited, because it is going to be massive. SurvivorOz.com is where you go to get all your latest Survivor Oz goodness. There are top 10s, features, everything else, and that you can poke a stick at. I was going to say something one way and it turned out the other way. But as always, we take this opportunity to thank you for your support, good or bad. We appreciate comments, and as always, we thank you very much for listening. Without you guys listening, we wouldn't be here. So it's that simple. We'll be back very shortly with more Survivor Oz. Thanks again to T-Bird. Until next time, my name is Ben. The Tribe has spoken. We will speak to you next time on The Trades.